Hello and welcome back to another edition of our TribPreps video series. It is week 7 and we are going to recap all the action of week 7 Friday Night Football action here in just 1 second. Like always, I am Alex VandenHouten, Lacrosse Tribune, and to my left is sports editor Todd Sommerfeldt. And like I said, we had a few interesting games. Todd had the best one of the night.
Yes.
With Sparta and Central. We'll get to that one real quick, but first we'll just run through some scores here. Holman, no problems with Logan, 41-0 on Alaska. Shook off a little bit of a slow start. Beat West Salem, 37-6. Sparta, 38. Central, 33. Mineral Point ends Aquinas' win streak, 52-22. Cuba City defeats Onalaska Luther, 28-21. Cashin picks up a victory, 26-14 over New Lisbon. Brookwood, 25. Royal 0. GET stays strong in the South Central, defeating Watoma 36-0, and the Redhawks now have their sights set on a South Central Conference title here.
Yep.
And in Prairie du Chien 20, Viroqua 14 over the SWC, and Richland Center 20, Westby 18, kind of a surprise there as well.
Mm-hmm.
River Valley 32, Arcadia 6, and Dairyland, another little bit of a surprise, Whitehall 19, Blair Taylor 13. Melrose Banduro 33, Cochrane Fountain City 13. Caledonia extended the nation's longest win streak to 60 games, defeating Dover Iota 46-15. DeSoto, after last week's tough loss, had no problems with North Crawford 53-0. Bangor took care of business like they always do, 56-0 over Riverdale. And DC Everest 48, Toma 6. And Todd, we have to start at your game in Sparta. You know, the big talk all week was Johnny versus Cole Wisniewski, and I think it's safe to say it delivered.
Absolutely. I had Cole with 246 rushing yards. He had 3 touchdowns. Johnny 368 passing yards. He also ran for close to 100. Passed for 2 touchdowns, ran for 2. It was interesting because it was. Sparta had control of this thing early. They scored the first 2 touchdowns. They're up 17-0. Attempted a second field goal, and that one was wide. Toward the end of the second quarter, and gave Central the ball back, and they went 80 yards. And Johnny Davis scored on the last play of the half, to make it 17-6. There was a penalty, and the extra point was a longer attempt and wasn't good. So 17-6 the half. And then they came out and scored on their first possession of the third quarter and made it 17-14. And then from there, it was just score fest, back and forth, back and forth. Watching these 2 guys and others make some really big plays. I think I mentioned Johnny having 368 passing yards and running for almost 100. Mm-hmm. So I think some people might look at that in numbers and say Sparta's defense didn't play well, but I really think it did the job that it needed to do. I'm going to write more about that for our Sunday paper. It'll be up on our website, lacrossetribune.com, later on Saturday. But they challenged Johnny to be an elite athlete and make elite plays, and he just did it. not every time. You know, they controlled him just enough, but they didn't give him anything. I think people might say there were a couple plays where there's some open receivers, but Central has a lot of athletes on this team, and you can't cover everybody.
Yeah,
it's just hard to do. Mm-hmm. Even if you're Sparta and you have the numbers Sparta has, and our team as good as Sparta is, it's a tough team to match up with. So Terrence Thompson had a whole bunch of catches.
Yeah.
But if you were at the game and you saw the throws that Johnny was making, they were probably only throws that Johnny can make.
Wow.
And so, along those lines, I think Sparta's defense did a good job in that regard. They also did a good job answering every time Central, hit it with a punch. Mm. And that's something that Sparta's just getting used to doing. Yeah. And they did a good job of that tonight. Central got within 5 points or the final margin with about 5 minutes left, and got the ball back with 3 minutes left. And after a nice Sparta punt, pinned him at the 6, and Johnny ended up fumbling the ball, and Sparta got on it and ran out the clock. So I think it lived up to all the hype. I didn't know at halftime. Sparta scored the first 2, and I was like, I didn't think there was any chance that this could be a blowout either way. And
you're getting a little worried, weren't you?
Well, and then they held on, and they were still in control, 17-6. Second half just much different than the first, and a really exciting game. I asked a couple of Sparta coaches afterward if they had as much fun as anybody watching, who really had nothing invested in it, and their response was it was a fun game. Of course, they won.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that always helps.
say that.
Yep, that
always helps. But it was just a really good place to be, and we saw some really good football with some really good athletes going back and forth.
Yeah, and Cole Wisniewski also defensively, he was all over the field tonight too.
Yeah,
2 sacks.
He sacked Johnny a couple of times. Once on a 2-point conversion, got into the backfield, and he also took a ball away from Terrence Thompson early, Central's first drive.
Mm-hmm.
Right on the sideline.
You can find that video on lacrossetribune.com.
Yes, and then they turned that into a quick touchdown. So that was kind of the first shift in things,
Mm-hmm.
and then Central just wouldn't go away and kept plugging away, and kept it a really good game throughout the second half.
Yeah, and we talked about this, but whenever Johnny Davis, when you have a guy like that on your team, you always have at least a shot.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
It's very rarely going to end in a blowout.
Right, and he showed that tonight because it was on the verge of going. I mean, it was going that way, and Central reeled back in and stayed in there. And Johnny had to leave for a couple of plays.
Okay.
Hurt himself in, I can't remember if it was the third or fourth quarter, the second half. And it looked like hand to me. Other people said it may have been a leg thing, but I was on the far side of the field, so I didn't see. But so he goes out of the game, and then you really wonder what's going to happen. But a couple plays later, he came back in and obviously, took him right down to the end in this thing and engineered a couple of good touchdown drives late.
Yeah, and with Sparta's victory, they'll set up a big game next week with Holman.
Yes.
Sparta got them last year, and then Holman, the game that I was at today was Holman-Logan, and Holman, took care of business right away. I mean, they had a pick six. Dylan Westcott, 82-yard pick six to open up the game, where actually Logan was actually driving a little bit down the field. Logan missed, on 3rd and 5, had a halfback pass from Harsey to, one of their tight ends there, and tight end just missed it. Would have been a touchdown. Next play, 82-yard pick six, and from there you just could tell it was maybe, if Logan gets that play, maybe it's a little bit different, but I don't think so. But today the story was, Cameron Weber, the quarterback for Holman. Holman's always been known for years, the ground and pound team.
Triple option.
Yeah, that's what they do. And Cameron Weber showed that he can throw the ball a little bit. He made some really nice throws, had 3 touchdowns, was 6 of 9 for almost 100 yards, and had a couple other passes that were right there, just dropped, and a couple of them right in the bucket. I was really impressed with him and just his control of the offense too, especially with a kid that's gonna, came back from what he came back from last year, a dislocated hip. Something that's what's going to be my focus for my Sunday piece is going to be on him, just that his comeback there as well. Then his fight just to kind of get back to where he's been at. But Brett Holden had another long touchdown run, 132 yards on 7 carries, and
he's been playing really well.
Yeah, and that offense right now is really clicking, and so I think that's why too. Kowalski and them, they wanted to show on film that they can throw the ball as well a little bit, to just make them that much more dangerous. Not necessarily that they had to, just because they're willing to show it now.
And Weber is a good throwing quarterback.
He is, yeah. He throws a nice ball. I agree with that.
Yeah, I've seen him play a few times this year, and I remember the Central game. I think he only threw 3 passes, but 2 of them were just off fingertips. Mm-hmm. The other was ill-advised. We'll say.
Yeah, we talked about that one before.
But he's pretty good about putting the ball right where it needs to be.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see a little bit more of that moving forward, or maybe now they've showed it, now teams will be ready for it, so they can just keep pounding between the tackles.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Exactly. Show them something, and they're fired up for Sparta because
Yes.
Kowalski will be the first one to tell you. They took Sparta too lightly last year. And Sparta handed it to them. They beat them 28-6. Sparta did, and that's been on their minds, Holman, for a while now. They're calling this kind of the redemption week, and they have homecoming this weekend, but I can tell you right now, focus is all on on Sparta. Just talking to them, Cam Weber, Travis Kowalski, they're really looking forward to this game against Sparta because, like I said, Sparta simply took it to Holman last year, and that's something that you just do not see very often in Holman.
And they're going to have to be ready. Sparta played very well tonight, and when the only other time I saw Sparta this year was against Onalaska, and Onalaska won that one 21-14 and didn't give Sparta a snap in the fourth quarter. And that's kind of the way you have to keep that offense. You have to keep Wisniewski off the field as a quarterback, we'll say. He'll be out there defensively making plays too. But
Yeah.
I mean, you'd rather have that than him out there, throwing the ball or running it. So, very interesting. I mean, a couple of good matchups next week that we'll be able to talk about on Thursday between that and Onalaska Central and Bangor getting Brookwood, and it'll be a good week of games next week. That's for sure.
Yeah, one we're looking forward to. Like Todd mentioned, Central will be playing Onalaska. That'll be another fun game. Onalaska, we'll just touch on them briefly. They started kind of a little bit slow and sluggish tonight.
They were losing.
They were losing, yes.
6-0 to West Salem.
To West Salem, and we have talked
in the second quarter.
And we have talked in great lengths about West Salem's struggles this year.
Yeah.
And so, I know my reaction when I first saw that score, especially when it's just at 0-0 after the first quarter. I was shocked.
Yeah.
But
they got a couple touchdowns in the second quarter to regain control there, and it looks like they kind of own the second half. But West Salem gave them some fight in the first half and had the lead, but Onalaska did what it should do and went out and won convincingly and set up this game with Central. And I think Central's going to be ready for that game too. It's another chance for them to make a statement and beat one of the top teams in the conference. They're reeling a little bit now after taking that second loss, and that kind of takes them out of contention there.
Mm-hmm.
Sparta stays in contention with the win. They still have a loss, but they're still right there with the other teams. And if they beat Holman, then then they're Holman fans. In the final week, hoping they can knock off Onalaska if Onalaska beats Central. So a lot of ifs going on for next week, but a lot of different scenarios going on for the MVC title picture as well.
Yeah, and you knew the season was always kind of building up to these last 2 weeks, just because we knew what the schedule was, and now it's finally here. Now we're really looking forward to it, Todd.
We'll say last three because the Sparta Central game is a big one too.
Yeah, that was kind of the start of it. Yes, you're right. Yeah. Well, Todd, I think that's going to do it for us because there was a lot of blowouts tonight and a lot of games that were not too fun to talk about. So that's going to wrap us up tonight. Another edition of the TribPreps video series, but like we always keep saying, you can find everything that we do tonight, gamers, videos, highlights, interviews with players, that can all be found on lacrossetribune.com. And same with anything, we'll be doing follow-ups on Sunday's paper as well. This video is going to be obviously up on lacrossetribune.com. So a lot of good stuff, like always, every week at lacrossetribune.com. But for me, Alex VandenHouten and Todd Sommerfeldt, that'll be all for us tonight. Take care. Bye.